We're breaking down the X factors that will define the AFC and NFC South today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now.
Joe, happy Thursday to
Happy
you.
Thursday.
We are on our last X Factor segment of the week. To the South divisions we go, and it's not just, hey, what's your best or what's your worst room? It's where is there the most opportunity to define what this division is going to look like this year is the objective that we have. And we try to pick 5 from each division. We try to have every team represented across that list of 5. We've been able to do that with every division so far. And now our challenge is to make that happen for the AFC and NFC South, starting today with the NFC South. And we will start with the multi-time reigning division champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The X factor for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2025 is blank.
Excited to flesh this one out with you. I have down edge rush as the area for me where I just have the most to learn. What's Hassan Reddick going to be like? 2 years ago, this guy was he a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year? He should have been. And then last year happened, and you just never know where guys are at. Yaya Diaby looks like a good, young, explosive pass rusher. What's the ceiling there? And then beyond that, what do we have? You know, what do we get out of some of these young players that have been in the pipeline? You got Elijah Roberts as part of the mix. I'm curious to see how this comes together. I know that the scheme will be a big part of their ability to affect the quarterback. Certainly the inside players when you have Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea, but specifically isolating the edge rush is where I find there to be the most opportunity in the margins based on what I know and what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I think there's another opportunity to shout out the secondary here for Tampa, where you have this infusion of young players with top 100 draft picks in Benjamin Morris and Jacob Parrish to go with Zion McCollum in a contract year and an aging Jamel Dean, and Winfield Jr. was banged up last year. So I think you could probably look at that and even really tie it down the linebacker opposite Levante David with how much is riding on Servache Dennis as the running mate there. I think there's fair X factor questions about, like, if it materializes the way that they probably envision, it's going to be a really good unit. But I do think it's worth pointing out that there's, I think, variance in outcomes on all levels of the defense for Tampa Bay.
So we fight hard to avoid the whole unit, but I think you call out fair questions at all levels.
Feel good about defensive tackle.
I certainly. I mean, even with Greg Gaines as your third guy, you know, like, it's a good group.
And I felt kind of compelled to bring something else up for Tampa just because the pass rush is where I want to go with Atlanta. Right?
They're allowed to have the same thing.
Yeah, but Tampa's got some questions. Atlanta's got some questions with the pass rush room. And we've talked about it till we've been blue in the face all off season long and all summer long about Atlanta and what they invested, what they're trying to resolve that position room that's been such a sore spot for them. They got a lot riding on the youth I mean, they went the veteran route last year and tried to get Matthew Judon to make it work, and he was fine, but I don't think justifiably worth the third round pick that they traded to get him from New England. And now you're dumping multiple first round picks into guys. It's just a lot to invest, and it needs to materialize, because if it doesn't, not only are you looking at the opportunity cost for what the outlook of the roster looks like, but it's just going to continue to kind of soil the other good things that you feel are happening defensively with Raheem Morris.
I don't think you're off on anything you said. I have an urge to bring up Michael Penix at quarterback as another layer to this conversation, where I think he did some really good things late in the season when he got his opportunity, but how does he evolve in year two with a lot of continuity around him? I think that should be one of the most exciting things about him, is they pretty much are running it back with coaching and O-line skill players around him. And there's a lot of good young developing players within that. And so, yeah, the pass rush is certainly a huge narrative, but how well Michael Penix performs, what type of step he takes, what type of ceiling he illustrates, I think is of equal importance to where this pass rush lands.
I would be remiss to not acknowledge Michael Penix as an X factor for Atlanta as well. So
we get to talk a lot of quarterbacks today with these two divisions. So.
Well, we could go straight down to Carolina and talk about Bryce Young and the benching last year, and then coming back and playing well down the stretch. And I kind of want to say the entire passing offense for Carolina, right? Because it's Tetairoa McMillan, Xavier Legette as a first-round pick last year, outperformed by Coker, Bryce Young. You feel like the offensive line and the run game is going to have a certain threshold that you would expect with a Dave Canales offense. They've certainly spent on defense, and if you wanted to talk about defense as an X factor, it's hard to argue with what it performed like last year and then the kind of dollars they threw at it this year. But I think my best candidate for a unit would be the passing game as a whole for Carolina.
I'm with you there. How does everything settle in around Bryce? What type of growth does he continue to show? I still feel like I have to say defense, though. I know they've invested a ton,
you
right? Like,
want to be contrarian today, or
I don't know. Maybe that's the way it's going to be. But I mean, I think this defense can help the passing offense with being more secure. I mean, this team gave up the most points in the history of the NFL last year, and they retained the coordinator and they added so many pieces. And so I am very interested in how the passing game evolves. But I think that the passing game has to be helped by being able to play a little bit of defense and giving your offense a chance. So I guess I want to lean into the defense, but I don't think you're off by bringing in that passing game factor as well.
So now we're through 3 teams and we have 6 units already. Now we have the Saints. You just want to call this quarterback and be like, look, you need functional quarterback play, or else this is going to be a really grueling 17 games.
Yeah, I think that's certainly the case. What's interesting about the quarterback battle is it doesn't really feel like there's been much separation from when I'm able to gather. I listen to Ross Jackson of Locked On Saints talk about this. It's like, well, there doesn't seem to be much separation, and maybe that's good news for the guy that is a rookie, right? Versus the guy that, I mean, it's a different scheme and all that. I certainly understand that, but Spencer Rattler's the guy that has a year of experience in the league. So does that help Tyler Shuck? I mean, he's also the one that was drafted with Kellen Moore as the head coach. I know that Mickey Loomis was the GM that drafted Spencer Rattler and will be the GM forever there, regardless of the weird decisions that he makes. But I'm really fascinated where this sorts out. And I feel like if it's a tie, don't you play Shuck as the young guy?
You should play the draft pick.
Yeah, I'm a young guy. It was like a weird word to say with Shuck, but as a draft pick, the rookie.
At least the young guy would be Spencer Rattler.
I know. That's why I was like, man, I don't know if that's going to land the way it should. Unique circumstance.
All right. So You want to pick the 5 after the break?
After the break.
All right, we'll pick the 5 for the NFC South. X factors within that division after the break. Make sure you guys stick with us.
August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for both predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. Maybe you think it's Baker Mayfield this year. Maybe CJ Stroud. You can crown your champion in August. Can the Bucs or the Texans go all the way? Or you can parlay your division winner dark horses. Maybe you think that it's not the Bucs or the Texans. Parlay that together. Get yourself some great odds. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game.
Did you pack the van for moving to New York, or you got traded from Minnesota to the Jets yesterday?
I did.
Yeah.
Am I Harrison Phillips?
You kind of look like Harrison.
Oh, you think that's – I get my doppelganger all the time as Kyle Schwarber. You know this guy? He plays for the Phillies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hear all – Kyle Schwarber. So
I see that, but I just saw Harrison Phillips on my timeline during the break, and I say, you know what? With the beard, the head, kind of the broad shoulders, looks like Joe Marino.
I can't play one tech like Harrison Phillips. So
no, I think that's a good ad for the Jets.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's almost like they listen to the podcast. I was like, well, if you want to be this type of team, you better get some guys that could play.
And they did.
Yeah, they did.
Well, now they got one.
They got better. They got better.
Make those linebackers better too. Keep them clean.
Yep.
So Saints quarterback, Panthers.
I mean, let's be honest. The biggest thing is the quarterback. The biggest thing is always going to be the quarterback. If that's on the table, we got to go with the quarterback.
You can lean into the tie here and say the passing game?
Yeah. Passing game.
Okay, so passing game for Carolina, quarterback for New Orleans. You want to lean into the tie for Atlanta?
Let's just say Bucs defense. That encapsulates all that we talked about.
Yeah, but that feels like an easy out.
Yeah, but it's our show. We get to make the rules, man. I think the spirit of what we're trying to communicate is pretty obvious.
Well, then which team are we going to double dip on? Are we going to double dip with Carolina's defense or Tampa's 2 defensive units or Atlanta's edge rush?
I would go Falcons. I'd go quarterback and edge rush for the Falcons. I think that's the double dip in my mind.
And then go Tampa defense.
Yeah.
Panthers passing game.
Yeah.
Saints quarterback.
I like it. Yeah.
There you go.
We did.
We might have a little bit of time for some odds and ends at the end of today's show. So
we'll see.
Keep your head on a swivel. So we'll go to the AFC South, where the Houston Texans are not going to have a quarterback variable like we very easily could have with another 2 teams in this division, at least. Offensive line, right? I mean, the offensive line in Houston feels like it could be the difference for Houston being a 10-win division winner who plays great defense, maybe has a divisional round appearance, versus potentially being like contending with that to get into that upper echelon of the AFC. I think the defense has the potential to be that good.
For sure.
CJ Stroud as a young player, rejuvenated supporting cast of receivers around him that they've continued to invest in. The offensive line for me is the difference between Houston being firmly in the second tier of AFC teams and having potentially a home playoff game in the divisional round against one of the teams that's perceived to be the upper echelon teams and having a legit chance to beat them.
Spot on. I think that's the definition of what we're trying to capture with this X Factor conversation. That's what the margin is. I think they're going to be probably the team that wins this division regardless. They've proven that. They've proven that they can do that with a bad offensive line. And we'll see, these other teams could be better and have something to say about it. But are you going to be a Super Bowl contender or, a solid playoff team? How good's the offensive line? And they certainly have a lot of different variables this year that they've invoked. How does it come together with the new scheme?
The Indianapolis Colts.
Daniel Jones is the quarterback.
Daniel Jones is the quarterback. We kind of know what that's going to look like.
Do we?
There's a proof of concept of.
Are we being silly? Are we being silly thinking that Daniel Jones is going to be a different player than he's always been? Can he be the Daniel Jones of 2018? 2019 Daniel Jones? 2022.
The first year of Brian Daboll?
I in my timeline in my head right there was Brian Daboll's timeline in Buffalo, which is not going to help. It's 2022 was his, which with all due respect to the history of the New York Giants was one of the best quarterback seasons they've ever had. So can he be that guy? But if that's as good as Daniel Jones can be, did you just need to play Richardson and let that play itself out? I mean, Sykes come out and said that he's the starter for the season, that the leash isn't going to be short.
Yeah, didn't he say that when
I thought so,
last year?
I thought so.
When they benched Richardson and then it lasted 2 weeks.
It's kind of goofy,
kind of a black eye, man, right?
It's goofy.
Well, I mean, it's a whole other conversation to get into the plan that you needed to have for Anthony Richardson versus the plan that you've actually seen play out for Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. But in 2022, Daniel Jones averaged 200 passing yards a game, right?
Yeah, the volume stats are not
he had less than one passing touchdown per start. He had 15 passing touchdowns.
Right.
So, even if that's what the Colts get, unless Jonathan Taylor's gonna rush for 2,400 yards and 25 touchdowns, I don't know. Do you feel that good about the Colts on defense that they can get away with being a team that scores 330 points this year and make the playoffs?
I feel relatively good about their defense being at least average to slightly above average. But
about the secondary at all?
Oh, I'm worried.
Howard?
Yeah, I'm worried. I sure am. So do we just have to accept the variance of Anthony Richardson versus the low ceiling of Daniel Jones and take that for what it is and lean into another position group? Is that kind of your argument?
I think so.
And you want to go secondary, it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, they got a lot. They had a lot of youth there. But they're really banged up. Kenny Moore's banged up. Jones is banged up. Juju Brents is banged up again. So they bring in Xavier Howard to play and reunite with his former defensive coordinator in Miami and Lou Anarumo. I got some questions. I'll just say I have some questions.
Okay. They're fair.
And the quarterback is make or break, but I don't think the variance in outcomes for either quarterback, the only high variant, the only outcome on the high end of the spectrum was Anthony Richardson has the light bulb come on. Right? And I don't think that's shown to be on the table, or else the Colts would have chose him to be the starter.
Right. That's the other thing about Anthony Richardson. It's not like he's been through schematic changes or these real big differences around him. This is the GM and the coach and the offensive scheme and for the most part the personnel that he was drafted to work with.
I mean, Joe, we're calling basic hot expectations a tricky play in the preseason game. And that's how he got hurt, with his thumb or his pinky. Excuse me. So those are the kinds of things that you look at, and it's you got to be able to protect yourself and get into the right situation. And I don't think that they have an expectation that he's going to do that and protect the offense from minus plays.
All right. Well, we got more
Neither here nor there.
AFC South. We've got to tie a ribbon on the AFC South, so we'll do all that here next. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Maybe you have some subscriptions that you're paying for that you forgot about. Well, you can link all your accounts to Monarch and immediately see those that you're not using, and you can cancel those, and that alone can save you money every single month. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
Speaking of the South divisions, Kalen McGarry set the missed time for the Falcons.
Not good.
Yeah, that's
one of those blindside protecting right tackles too, right?
There's only two of them.
That's for a while we didn't have any, right?
Right. And we're up to two.
So
it's growing.
And Storm Norton's hurt as well, right? So Jack
Correct.
Nelson,
the swing tackle, is hurt as well.
What tackle is the Falcons about to sign?
Well, George Fant just came off the board to Washington.
That's right. That's a good call.
That was like the one that if you needed a veteran tackle to help, you'd have felt pretty good about that. So kudos to Washington for gobbling him up.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see where we are on track for the Jacksonville Jaguars as our next X Factor team. And this team has talent. That's what makes them hard. They've got talent in the front seven. They got Travis Hunter. They got Brian Thomas Jr. They have a physically talented quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. They got a lot of options in the backfield with different skill sets. They've invested in the offensive line. If I was going to cheat, I would lean into the coaching elements of Jacksonville as the X factor for this team. Because it's like, I don't see them as being a team that has a really problematic talent issue, with the exception of, maybe the secondary sans Travis Hunter. Or is Tyson Campbell the player that he was before he got the contract or not? The safety room, you got questions, right? Like,
yeah,
that for me, if I was going to isolate a single position room, I'd say, man, we're pretty weak at safety. But that feels like a weird spot to land for a team that was picking organically in the top 5 last year.
Yeah, I think if you were to isolate a position group and say, hey, where do you feel like you're lacking or you need to see a young player emerge, it probably is safety. But I kind of want to talk Trevor Lawrence as the opportunity is here to play with a very talented supporting cast and Liam Cohen, who we saw what he was able to get done with Baker Mayfield, with Will Levis, and the next guy is Trevor Lawrence. And like, how much more ceiling can we show? What type of consistency can we find? Can we reduce some of the boneheaded moments, whether that's fumbles or interceptions? Can he stay healthy? I know that you could probably bring all of these conversations back to the quarterback. Like if your quarterback's Patrick Mahomes or if it's the Saints situation, right? Well, you can land there. But I think with Trevor Lawrence still being young and Cohen's track record and this weaponry, how good can you be, dude? Like, show us. And I think that's where this is the difference between a playoff contending type team or another team picking the first half, top half of the first round next year.
Yeah.
Well, they're not picking at all. They traded that pick. So it would behoove them to win a lot of games.
Where the Browns.
Yeah, that's the storyline this year. Browns fans are also fans of whoever's playing Jacksonville.
I've lived this life.
Yeah.
It's fun to kind of have it be no stress for like if your team wins, it's no sweat off because if
Right.
you're not expecting a good season or if you know you need high draft capital. So Browns fans enjoy that ride, and Jacksonville enjoyed Travis Hunter.
Well, there's another team with 2 first-round picks, right? Didn't Atlanta trade it
Atlanta gave theirs to the Rams.
to the Rams? All right, so there you go. Another weird new favorite
Rams
team.
fans and Browns fans uniquely dialed in on today's South Division X Factor program.
Right. What's interesting is those are teams that have been through a lot of years without first-round picks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those are common teams to not have any first-round picks. Now they both got 2 already.
Well, that's the circle of life, right? It's like more often than not, like your successful builds happen because there's some bold maneuvering, whether it's on this end of the spectrum or this end of the spectrum.
Right.
And they've had their time, and you saw a team that it worked for and a team that it didn't. And now they're both from a timeline perspective. And both of those moves kind of line up with each other, right? With like the Rams were a little bit out in front where they didn't pick a first-round pick from Jared Goff to Jared Verse.
I didn't realize that both their names were Jared. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. That
And
needs
then
to be discussed more.
The Browns halfway through that stretch go for the Deshaun Watson splash. But it's the circle of life. And you wait long enough, you're always going to be on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, it's Cam Ward, man.
What's interesting about this entire conversation that we've had is the 2 teams at the top obviously have the established quarterbacks, but like the entire landscape, it creates the wide open element of these divisions to be like, hey, this could play out in any number of different ways. And the wild, wild west of competition just happens to coincide with the wild, wild west of like, whose quarterback's going to have the light bulb come on this year? And it's all congregated. 6 out of 8 teams have unsettled definitive answers at quarterback, or we felt compelled in some way, shape, or form to allude to them as X factors for these teams.
Right, and then the one you feel the best about, we have no idea how good his offensive line's going to be in the AFC side, and then Baker Mayfield, I think, will be awesome, but there's questions about that defense. But I agree. It is the Titans. I mean, and we've seen teams that we have low expectations for draft a quarterback that comes in and balls out, and all of a sudden you have a Jaden Daniels Washington situation. So I think Tennessee, in their defense, I don't think they have the worst talent in the league. I don't think this is a like if Cam Ward catches lightning in a bottle, I don't think the rest of the team is prohibitive in them winning 8, 9, 10 games.
Right.
But I think you'd have to have all of that come together. I'm not expecting that.
Right.
But that's part of that equation there is Cam Ward catching lightning in a bottle.
So 5 X factors in the AFC South would be Houston's offensive line.
Yes.
The Colts, I think, are probably the double dip team with the quarterback and the secondary.
I think so.
Jacksonville, the Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen connection.
Yeah.
And Cam Ward.
Quarterbacks, man.
Quarterbacks. Lots of them in the South with questions. Lots of opportunity. Odds and ends across the league. We talked about Harrison Phillips getting traded already. We had, speaking of the South divisions, the Saints traded a 4th and a 7th for Devon Vale.
Don't like it.
Dude, I'm not trying to just dump on New Orleans today.
They make it easy.
Are we serious with this trade? This is a second-year player going to be 28 years old by the end of the season. 7th round pick last year. This is quintessential Mickey Loomis. I don't care about the price. I have my guys. I want to go get my guys. And every time you're wrong and you lose the margins on the trade, and then he might be right about Devon Vale. But even if he's right, it still underscores like the entire process of how this team has got to where they're at right now. And then Mickey Loomis has the audacity in the offseason to say just because the results aren't where we want them to be doesn't mean we're doing something wrong. This is the embodiment of doing something wrong.
I want to hear the phone call because I don't think that maybe the Broncos were trying to move Vale. Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, Cortland Sutton, maybe Marvin Mims. They probably maybe were pretty good at receiver. But what is the conversation like that goes into that chat where you get out of it and they're like, yeah, we're getting a 4 here,
right?
Like
for a guy that you drafted in the 7th round last year.
It's like Denver's probably like, okay, I think we have to take it. Sure, send it in.
And then the reports were, there was other teams interested in Vale, so they had competent. Let somebody else pay it.
Sure.
Wide receivers get traded all the time. Joe Marino said it 3 times this week on the podcast. Like, pick a different receiver, man. Any other odds and ends?
Nah, it's fun to see these pre-cut down trades. I think we'll get more of them, in the coming days. So it'll be fun to see.
Yes, we will. Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino. Appreciate you guys as always for checking out Locked On NFL Scouting. We got takes on takes coming tomorrow. We hope to see you then. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.